Hello, and welcome to the Theory of Creativities, the Theory of Dreams. I'm your host, Sara. Oh my god, I did it. I'm your host, Garrison, and I'm here with Sara, Rama, and Griffin's back.
Hi, I am Garrison, and I'm here with Sara, Rama, and Griffin.
Thanks for introducing me before you, though. I appreciate it.
Don't get used to it.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're talking about dreams. Do you guys have any favorite dreams or recent dreams that you want to talk about?
Rama, go ahead and start.
Okay, last night I had this crazy dream that just had one thing that I thought was really cool. I was in a museum, and there was an aquarium there, and I was looking into it, and all of a sudden this big monster swam by. It basically looked like a squid, but like the body part was all made of like rock, and it had like glowing red crystals in it. And that's basically really all I have to say about that.
Did he talk or anything?
No, it just swam by, like kind of like, you know how like in horror movies whenever somebody's looking somewhere and then all of a sudden something zooms by and freaks them out. It's kind of like that.
So did you like try and fight it, or did it get away?
No,
Away?
just swam around and...
You were like afraid or anything in the dream?
No, I just thought like, oh, that's really cool. That's basically it.
Okay.
And then he woke up and then he had a tattoo of that monster on his arm.
Oh, yeah, right. Yes, I do have a tattoo of a stopwatch on my arm here. I had a dream about it. I thought it looked really cool, so I got a tattoo of it.
It's cool.
It's pretty dope.
What about you guys?
I had a wild and pretty relevant dream that I think you guys will find really cool. Okay, so I'm laying there, I'm dreaming, and it's always a good way to start your dreams. You know, you have to be sleeping. But anyway,
Good detail.
in the dream, I was in this this courtyard area, and then suddenly I'm approached by this large, this large being that's wearing a blue robe. It was like a blue and purple robe, and he had a large diamond-shaped head. Now I'm not sure if it was just a mask or if that was just his head, and he had like some things on it, and he was a bigger guy or bigger whatever. I don't know if it was a guy or girl. It was indescript. I could discern no facial features except for like vaguely some eyes. And this being approached me and it said, it claimed to be like a deity of dreams, but it didn't speak in the conventional sense like, I would say to you like, oh, hello, my name is Griffin. It sort of, I understood it. There was an understanding.
Yeah, that happens in dreams a lot, where people just know what's going on.
Yeah, it didn't communicate. It was kind of telepathic. I just understood what it was, and it said to me that it was going to test me, and if I passed the test, it would reward humanity. Not just me, it said it would reward humanity. So I agreed to take its test, and it didn't say a specific number of tests, but the first one I was in a tavern, and then there was a group of people that I had to talk with, and I had to get something from one of them. I don't remember what it was, but I passed the test. And then, before I passed it, I aggravated one of the people in the tavern, and he chased me outside. But then I realized this was a dream, and so instead of running from him, I flew over the fence, but then I was confronted by the guy who claimed to be the deity of dreams, and he stopped, and again we had the understanding that he wanted to fight me. And so the first thing I do to him, since this is a dream, is I throw a kamehameha at him, except it's not a normal kamehameha, because I was like, oh, this is a dream. I'm not just going to throw like a little blue shoot at him. I'm going to just throw like the universe as a kamehameha at this guy. And so it hits him, but now I know he's a deity, so he's suddenly inside the beam, and he's already ready to like fight me. But then I appear behind him as a golden Super Saiyan, and we start going at it. And then that's when he throws the final test at me, which is where because I was able to fight him successfully, and he sends me to this town. I'm a worker at a nuclear plant now, and before you ask, usually all my dreams are pretty elaborate.
There's so many questions that are popping up the more you go into your dream.
You'll get your chance.
Okay.
I'm a worker at a nuclear plant, and he warns me that the deity warns me that there's gonna be a meltdown. The reactor is gonna melt down and it's gonna devastate the whole town. And I'm presented with a choice. I can either go home to my wife and warn her about the meltdown and we can survive it, or I can go to my best friend, and who was also a worker there, and warn him so that he can get out and warn his family. So the first thing I decided to do, I warn him, but because this is a dream, I teleport myself to my house, but I'm unfamiliar with this house still, because it's lived in, but it's not. It's the lucid dream, so I know that
it is your house, but you're not.
Well, yeah, I'm not
100% familiar.
I'm not aware of the house because I've made myself aware that this is a dream. So I haven't accepted the fact that I'm a character. I've accepted that I'm an outsider. So instead of like trying to figure out where to go in this house, I just see through the walls to find where she is. And again, I teleport myself to her and I say, hey, there's going to be a catastrophe. We've got to hide in the bathtub because water is more resilient to the spread of radiation, and we're going to hide in there until, it stops. And so we both go in the tub. I fill the tub up with water, and then we hide in there. And then I realize, while we're underwater, wait a minute, I can breathe underwater. So I start breathing underwater. But I didn't realize that she could not, and she dies. She dies in the dream. I held her underwater, and she dies in the dream.
Oh, that's vicious.
And I realized I wasn't sure if I failed the test, so I started to wake myself up because I believed that I had failed. By her dying, I had failed. But then after I woke up, I realized, wait a minute, there were a few things I could have done. I could have either given her the ability to breathe underwater, or I could have just brought her back to life. And I think in that case, I would have passed all 3 of his tests, and he would have rewarded humanity.
Wow, you have some very intricate dreams.
Yeah, I've had quite a few intricate dreams.
Okay, so, that brings up an interesting factoid that I learned today, that brings up some gender differences in the way that men dream versus the way that women generally dream.
Okay, hold on. We just kind of skipped over your dream.
Oh, but wait, hold on. I want to just put this factoid out there real quick, right? So, men dream of more violent things than women do. Interesting factoid.
I think it's really hard to prove anything when it comes to dreams, because everyone dreams so differently.
They've done some cool experiments with it, with like 100,000 people, where they like took surveys about what they think about.
Is it more they like hook things up to their head and certain areas of their brain activate more? Is that?
Yes.
More
I think it might be more effective.
Could be surveys.
If they did surveys. Now that would be harder, but because people dream so differently, the CAT scan or the MRI isn't going to show you a whole lot. It could be one area of their head's lighting up, and because there's so little that we know about the brain.
It's cool too, because in the research that I did today, because I'm actually pretty proud that I actually did research for one of our podcasts, that they do have dream reading machines that can identify which part of your brain is activated and can therefore kind of assume what it is you're dreaming about. For instance, like if you're dreaming about a building or a car or somebody dies, like they can kind of decipher what it is you're dreaming about. Yeah.
Your dream.
Oh, okay. So I've had a lot of crazy dreams. The first 2-dimensional dream I've ever had, though, was like probably 2 years ago, and this is what inspired us to.
Now hold on, 2-dimensional. What do you mean? Like it was actually like
it was like
flatland,
animated, like 2D.
That was your first one?
That was the first one I've ever had.
So you were looking at yourself in the third person?
No, I was looking at like creatures in like the third person.
So you were...
Oh, okay. I thought you meant that like you were literally like flat 2-dimensional.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how would you see that? It would just be like.
No, I mean it was like
just everything looked 2-dimensional.
Yeah, it was like it was like I was in a cartoon, like wait, or like viewing a cartoon.
Yeah, you said you weren't in it.
No, I wasn't. So it was like I was viewing a cartoon.
What happened?
Okay, so I don't know. Can I spoil it? Yeah.
Go ahead. My dream was pretty epic, and I spoiled it.
All right. So imagine a giant whale and a little creature that's yellow. And they're like flying around in space. And this little creature, little yellow creature, he is kind of like a child in like the mind, in the brain. And so they're flying around, la da 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 da. And then all of a sudden, there's these like black seals that come out of the midst of space, like the blackness of space. And like they start chasing after the whale and the little guy, and then all like they run away, and the whale and the little guy go into whale speed. Like it's like light speed, but like it's called whale speed. Like the little guy calls for whale speed, and then they go into whale speed. And then all of a sudden they're in a different dimension, and it's a 3D dimension. So it's like stop motion, right? But it's like a beautiful like planet. They just like, oh, we got away, and then they land.
Did everything look like toys?
Yeah, pretty much. So they like go, and then they land on this planet, and like this little yellow guy, he like hops around, but then you can kind of see like he like transforms into different shapes and creatures. Like he transforms into like a flower, and he's like, oh, look at me, la 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 la, and then he transforms into like a squirrel, and he's just like playing around, like he's like a little play guy, a little child. This is my dreams.
So there was no plot?
No, that's it.
That sounds suspiciously like something we were working on.
We are working on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you didn't want to spoil. Okay.
But is it spoiling though?
I don't know. I don't think it is.
So, yeah. Griffin, you seem to have a lot of control over your dreams. Would you say that's accurate?
Usually.
How did you come to master?
How I came to master lucid dreaming
is
what you're asking. Okay, the oldest lucid dream that I can remember was I'm not sure exactly how I came to this conclusion, but I was trying to get a group of people to safety, and I was my favorite Smash Brothers character and one of my favorite Nintendo characters, Kirby, and suddenly there was like this group of like goons who had ambushed our convoy, and this does touch on what you were saying a little bit, but suddenly a machine gun appears, an M60 appears in my hand.
Boom.
And I just start tearing down, like mowing down all these goons that are like set up on this, and then it becomes, from there, I had just seen Hot Shots Part 2.
Oh my God.
Or Part 2. So when I started shooting, they were all like having these dramatic deaths, and I had this unlimited clip of ammunition. But that's the oldest lucid dream that I can remember, because I think it was something about I felt that my mind had made me that character, that had made me Kirby, and I kind of I was able to distance myself. Usually it'll be when I deliberately lucid dream, I'll distance myself sort of from what's happening. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes I'll either be watching myself do something, like when I said I was fighting the dream deity or deity, when I went behind him and appeared as a Super Saiyan, I was watching myself do that. I didn't see behind him and start punching him. I was just watching myself inside this beam, this Kamehameha beam, go behind him and appear more powerful than he was and start beating him. So usually it's like I remove myself from what's happening, and then I sort of just manipulate. I see that something is, that I have more control over this situation, mm-hmm. and I exploit that. I know that I make myself aware that I'm dreaming, and then control that. Okay,
I'm gonna throw out a really interesting other little factoid that I found today, that more people that play video games can lucid dream better than people that don't play video games. I think it's because of the like input of a fantasy world. Like if you play video games a lot,
that actually now it sounds more accurate, because before I thought it was just like the gender thing, where it was like, yeah, it could
no, I mean, like, because I play video games too, and I used to lucid dream a lot. It's been a while since I've lucid dreamed, but Yeah, it's like that, like, input of, like, being in a fantasy world that makes it easier for people to lucid dream. Because it's like, you just become used to the idea of, like, surrounding yourself by fantasy.
Yeah, being able to take yourself out of an experience, or put yourself into another character's shoes.
Right. So what about you, Garrison? Tell me about your dreams.
Well, just the dream that I had last night, I was Batman.
Oh, yeah.
But I was terrible at it. Like, my cape was snagging on stuff, and the cops were shooting at me. It was terrible. But one of my favorite dreams was a few years ago. Was this time where I had a dream within a dream. Like, I was doing something, and then I woke up in the dream.
That's terrifying.
In my room. But then there was like a creature, and then I woke up again. It's kind of cool.
No, it's pretty. I've had a dream with it. They're pretty scary because I remember I had like. There were layers to it, though.
Yeah.
It was like the dream. It wasn't just a dream in a dream. It was like an onion. It was a dream in a dream in a dream. Because one time, I woke up and I would like start like doing my usual routine, and I would be like, something's wrong about this. Then I would try and wake up again, and I'm realizing that I'm actually like, I'm going into a deeper sleep as it seems like I'm waking up, and I keep trying to wake myself up, but I keep waking up in a dream.
That sounds terrifying.
It was a little bit unnerving because it lasted for a while, and it felt like it lasted for a really long time. But I don't usually sleep that deep, and that's one of the reasons why I don't, because I have such an active mind that if I go into like a really, really deep sleep, it becomes harder and harder for me to wake up. Because right when I thought I had failed the test with the dream deity, I tried to wake myself up. But before I woke myself up, I went into like the deepest sleep that I've ever had. I like felt myself going into a really, really deep sleep, and then I forced myself to wake up.
Now, have you guys ever experienced like sleep paralysis or anything?
Is that where, like, you wake up, you can't move? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that sometimes. Basically, what happens is that, like, when you go to sleep, your brain releases a chemical which paralyzes your body so that, you know, when you're moving around in your dream, you don't do that stuff in real life, and so...
And some people, it's the complete opposite, too.
Yeah, when you sleepwalk.
Yeah.
Just for the record, I'm sorry. I've got to.
I know what you're going to say.
He doesn't need to sleep to feel paralyzed.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm handicapped. Yeah. Yeah, but anyways, though, I get that a lot, and like whenever it happens, like I'll try to move like really hard and try to like wake myself up more, but I just can't, and it's so uncomfortable.
And I'll try and move his legs, and
like there's like some people that like talk about like different creatures and stuff that like will come out at them during sleep paralysis.
Oh, really?
Because their mind
They must be like part sleeping.
Their mind is still active in sort of like a dream state, so like they're laying there paralyzed in their room. It's almost like lucid dreaming, except for it's reality and your dreams are coming out you. So I think that's probably the most terrifying
shadow
thing.
people is what they usually say. Like a person will, or some kind of they'll believe it's like a demonic entity will show up in their room, and usually it'll like sit on their chest and just sort of bear itself on them, and then it'll make them feel completely terrified and helpless, and they'll feel a pressure on their chest, and then eventually, until hours later, it ends.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be terrible. There's like a really good, or at least there was like a really good documentary on Netflix about sleep paralysis. I think it's called Sleepless or something like that.
Sleepless in Seattle?
Yes.
Love that movie.
It's a good documentary.
Okay, so have any of you heard about dimensional like dream theory? Or actually, I don't really think it has a name, but it's basically the idea that when you dream, you're basically in the body of another you from another universe.
I have not heard of that, but I know about like infinite dimensional theory stuff. So
I've experienced that, but I didn't know it had a name.
I don't know if it has a name. We'll just call it that for now.
I mean, I guess there's no way to prove it doesn't exist.
Well, is it called dimensional dream theory? I thought that was what it was called.
That's what I call it.
Oh, wait. Okay, so I found this other really cool factoid today that said that you can actually communicate with other people in your dreams. Like, they did experiments on people where they were in an REM sleep cycle, and they would able to, like, talk to them during their REM. So, I think it was like they were like watching people's eyelids move like left or right for yes or no, and they were able to communicate with them. And I think it was able to happen between multiple people at the same time. So stuff like that, you could probably communicate with other people in different universes.
Well, I just thought that was a side effect of sometimes when you fall asleep and like you leave the TV or the radio on too loud and you go into REM, the stuff that you hear on the radio will start to happen in your dreams.
Oh, jeez, yeah. Okay, so back in 2009, do you guys know who Terry Banks is?
Yeah.
Yeah, she had this talk show, and like during the summer of like 2009, I would always end up sleeping during that talk show. Like I would fall asleep, and then I'd have my TV on, and then talk show would come on, and I'd always have that in my dream, and it just sucked so much because it's such a boring show.
I fell asleep during PTI, and no, not PTI. The other Sports Center one that comes on right before it, Around the Horn, and it's a bunch of sports broadcasters. They'll argue, and then I really liked Woody Page, but anyway, and the stat guy would eliminate whoever argued the worst in his opinion. And I fell asleep during it, and in my dream there was like a koala that pushed a guy off a roof, and he was like, "You're eliminated animal style." And then I wake up at the end of Around the Horn, and I realized that one of the contestants, one of the sports broadcasters was eliminated animal style, and I was like, what the fuck? And that was the first time I'd experienced something. I was like, because that happened in my dream. So I guess you communicate. I mean, why not?
Well, I mean, it's like, have you ever had like a dream about somebody else and you feel them, like, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that, but like you can like feel them or like feel like they're communicating back at you through your dreams.
I've had some dreams where I thought that happened. My brother lives in Hawaii. He's in the Air Force, and remember, like a couple years ago, I had a dream where like something really terrible happened to him. I don't remember, like, but he died or something, some really terrible way. And I woke up and I just kept thinking like that was going to happen. It didn't, thankfully. But yeah, I got that feeling at least.
Mm-hmm. Like a premonition almost.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the weird thing about dreams is like everybody has dreams, but like deciphering them is the hardest part about it. Like, how are you supposed to know what your dreams even mean, or if they mean anything at all?
I'm a proponent of the dreams having deeper meaning. I think because I thought about it after my recent dreaming experience, which was 2 days ago. I thought about it while I was at work, and then I realized, I think, as I lucid dream more and more, and if any of you lucid dream or you learn how to lucid dream, you start to feel your inhibitions sort of just slip away, and I think that was the reward that he wanted to impart onto humanity, or in this case me, so to speak.
To lose your inhibitions?
Yeah, because as I dream further and further, I just realized that if I'm trying to run away, like the first dream where the first test where I pissed off the guy in the tavern and he started chasing me, I realized that, I couldn't outrun him, right? So there was a part of me that had to like let go in order to allow myself to fly and escape him. So I think that they may not have a larger meaning in terms of what goes in terms of like premonitions. Well, it's possible that they do, but they definitely have a meaning in terms like to you
and emotional,
and what you want to be or do. Because I mean I think that was they're not purposeless.
Right.
You can garner purpose from them if you're if you pay attention.
Right. Like, I mean, it's kind of weird, too, because a lot of people have very similar dreams, like dreams of flying or dreams of their teeth falling out.
You're supposed to, theoretically, you only fly in dreams if you're in a very, very good state of mind. And now me, usually always in a good state of mind.
Happy.
So, or at least I have that sort of emotional control, so to speak. I have that. It's not difficult for me to go to a place where I can fly in it, where I can feel like I can fly in a dream. But usually in my dreams, rather than choosing to fly, because what Spider-Man does, he zips around and he swings, is so much cooler than flying. I'll do that now, because I've had more dreams where I'm like swinging around than I am just flying.
Yeah.
Because
How do you work out that physics? Like, because when I try things like that, I like feel too slow or something,
well, it's about, like I said, it's about being able to, you've got to let go and like take yourself. You've got to be willing to take yourself out of the equation for like a second and just let yourself go to a place where you can like.
Yeah.
Well, you have to.
It's like pure bliss.
Yeah, you have to wholeheartedly believe that when I shoot that web at a building and I grab it, that I'm gonna be able to swing. If you for a second you stop and you can't do it, and you think you can't do it, you'll hit the building and you'll fall. So that's where your inhibitions start to melt away, because you'll do it. If you're committed to it and you believe you can, it'll happen.
So, you know that episode where, like, Starfire is explaining to Raven, because they switch bodies, Starfire's powers and, like, how to activate her flying abilities? Like, how she says, like, you have to have, like, experience, like, the pure bliss and, like, the happiness and joy within. It's like that. It's like you really just have to, like, feel excited and warm and happy, and because I've had some awesome dreams where it's not really like flying, but it's like I'm jumping like over forests or like in the air and like battling creatures. Like, it's fun.
Yeah, I try to do stuff like that all the time in my dreams, but I just can't. For some reason, I just cannot ever do stuff like that.
You've got to believe that you can. You can't inhibit yourself with the physics of this world. You're in a dream. Don't inhibit yourself with the physics of this world. Because when I start to throw that Kamehameha, it started out like this big, started out really tiny. Then I was like, wait a minute, no, I can make it bigger. And then I didn't say, no, this isn't going to happen. I just kept saying, it's going to get bigger, and it's going to keep like getting stronger and stronger.
I'm never going to remember this in my dreams, though.
There's a lot of good pointers that I think some people have about lucid dreaming. Like, some people say, like, if you hold on to, like, your favorite red pen throughout the day and you just keep looking down at it, or if you, like, look at your hands in your dreams, that's one way you can figure out how to lucid dream or figure out that you are in a dream.
Oh, okay.
Or, like I said, like, hold on to
a totem.
Yeah, a totem. And so if you see that totem in your dream, then you'll understand that you're dreaming. But you have to do it constantly, so that, because it takes a while for you to recognize
I've heard,
in your
like,
dream.
Lists of things to do to get yourself to lucid dream, but it just seems like a lot of effort. So I just haven't taken the time to do it.
Oh man.
Hold that thought. Are we still live?
Yeah, we're still live. Man. Okay, alright, yeah, so Griffin, bouncing off of what you were saying about, like, the meaning of dreams.
Yeah.
I kind of think that, so people have dreams, animals have dreams. I kind of think that dreams are to prepare us, to, like, teach us.
Actually, sorry, I need to stop for a sec. A few years ago, I actually watched a documentary where psychologists proposed that exact same thing, that dreams are to prepare us for what...
Right, yeah, exactly. They're meant to prepare us, for the really good things, the really bad things, and when they actually happen, we'll know how to act accordingly. So,
well, I think that has to do more with deja vu. But the first thing you said, where it's like, where it prepares you for something, I think there's a training in dreams. Like, if you dream that you're that you're doing gymnastics a lot, then you could become more naturally good at it.
Or like one of the things I was watching today was explaining, like, if you're a runner, lucid dreaming is really good for you, especially because you're constantly working your brain about how to figure out how to do things better. So yeah, I mean, the one that they used was the runner, the athlete that wanted to run better.
Well, yeah, so you guys were talking about totems, which perfectly segues into Inception. Have any of you seen Inception?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's a
of
good
course, I've
movie.
seen Inception.
Cool. Yeah, so totems. I have no idea where I'm going with this.
If you guys,
If you wanted to ask, I do actually have one. I can't tell you what it is or what it looks like, but I do have a totem. I don't know if what you say about them is true, Sarah.
that's one of the ideas. I've never had a totem, I don't think, as far as I know. I think I just appear.
But I've never used my totem in my dreams. At least I can't remember a time that I have. But my totem I use it for the same purpose they did in the movie. It's just, it's a device that tells me if I'm in a dream or not. It's really all. I've never had a dream with it, but
you know
I
what?
do have one.
So we have bounced off some of the happier dreams that we have had, but what's like the worst dream that you guys have ever had? Like the scariest, like you wake up and you are in tears or in panic mode. It sounds like that dream that you had, Rama, with your brother. That sounds really traumatic.
Yeah, I wouldn't really call it a nightmare, though. I actually rarely have nightmares. The first one I can remember, like, after being, like, a toddler, though, was the movie Ghost Ship. Have you guys seen that?
Nope.
Yeah, like long time ago.
Yeah, that freaked
Sci-fi
me out.
movie.
But other than that, yeah, I actually rarely have nightmares. I don't really remember that dream that I was telling you about with my brother dying, but that was kind of more of like at the end of the dream, and then I woke up. But other than that, yeah, I like, really don't ever have nightmares or anything.
Okay.
My bad dreams are as bad as my good dreams are good. I can't recall one per se, but I can recall the premise under which it takes place. And this is another reason why I don't really sleep very deeply, because if I can think about it and if I can gain control over my dreams, that's great. But there's another side to that where I can gain such a control over the dream that I'll start inadvertently causing worse and worse things to happen to myself. Because if like I said with the web swinging with Spider-Man, if you stop believing, you'll fall and you'll hit the building.
Mm-hmm.
So if that just keeps happening, the dream will just keep getting worse and worse and worse, and then you'll keep believing that it's going to get worse. And I'll keep believing that it's going to get worse and worse and worse, and usually it does.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I don't have one right now. I can't think of one right now, but I have been in I do remember being in like very, very tight spaces,
Mm-hmm.
and something's like putting me there, and then like every time something worse is about to happen, usually that's when I'll wake myself up.
So your advice is don't stop believing and hold on to that feeling. Is that what it is?
Well, if you want to hold on to the feeling, and streetlights will help you with that, maybe people could too. Maybe she's a small town girl from a lonely
world.
lonely world, and
Just a
they
Small town boy.
living just to find emotion.
Anyway, Garrison, what's the worst dream that you've had?
Yeah, like Rama, I really don't have too many bad dreams, but the few that I've had, it's always been like some sort of unknown, ominous thing lurking in the shadows. But one bad dream that sticks out, that's really old, was I was one of the students from the Magic School Bus, and I was on a field trip.
Rama and I were just talking.
Yes. Yeah, so I was on a field trip, and it was nighttime, and like something was hunting the kids down, and
It's like Jeepers Creepers.
right, you get to run. So that's it.
Jeepers Creepers in the Magic School Bus.
See, if I had a dream that was like that, and I was trapped on a bus, and I knew the monster or whatever was out there, suddenly the monster would start to get more and more powerful and more menacing, because I'm actually making it more powerful and more menacing.
Mm-hmm.
I had something else to go off the bus, but you'll have to come back to me.
Okay. Yes. Speaking of Jeepers Creepers, this sort of goes hand in hand to what I brought up at Starbucks, and my feelings towards Disney, which I will not go into on this podcast. But the director, so there's a new Jeepers Creepers coming out this year, I believe, and it's the same guy directed all of the movies. He's a registered like sex offender.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, if just putting that out there, if you still want to support him, I guess.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that's creepy.
It's creepy. You know what? Jeepers Creepers could just be a pedophile.
Yeah, maybe that's his way of getting out his sexual aggression.
This isn't relevant to this podcast, but there's a lot of weird shit that goes on at Hollywood.
Oh,
And like anytime it comes out that someone's a sex offender, I'm just like, no, I'm not surprised at all, because there is weird shit that goes. It's off subject, but I've heard things. Maybe they're true, maybe they're not. But it doesn't surprise me anytime someone comes out and says, "Oh, they touched kids or something," because there's always.
This is why we need female directors. Anyway.
On a side note, there's what Sara said, but that aside, there's always someone worse behind that guy. There's always somebody who's worse behind the person. The registered sex this was said during the campaign. Trump is the snake you see, but Ted Cruz is the snake you don't see. It's always the case. The snake you don't see is always worse than the snake you see.
Kind of like Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine. Is that a fair comparison?
Well, yeah, sure. Or like the Fire Lord, where it's like, because he was there so little, you build him up and you build him up and you build him up, and suddenly he's like, the idea of him is much worse than he actually is. But he's still pretty bad. So when it comes out these people are pedophiles, I don't care. But I mean, if you don't want to support them, that's fine. If the product is good, I'll support the product. I don't care about the person. I'll support the product, because it takes an army of people to make a movie.
And in other news, prophetic dreams.
Oh,
you guys
yeah.
had any
I've had a
others?
lot of prophetic dreams.
What does that mean? I don't know.
Like dreams that sort of came true later.
Oh, no, I cannot think of anything like that.
Okay, so going back to our Deja Vu podcast that we have, I don't know if we touched on this, but does Deja Vu have to be like when you sleep but you have Deja Vu? Or is it like one of those things where it just like, oh, I'm just having a dream now that I'm awake, and then all of a sudden it happens?
I always thought it was you dreamed about something, you forgot about the dream until you saw it in real life.
See, that's my Deja Vu.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Prophetic dreams and Deja Vu sound very similar.
It does. I was just about to say that, but I concur with what you said.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. For me, Deja Vu is kind of like time travel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when I have deja vu, I'll try and remember what the next thing that I saw coming was, and then I'll think of it as it's happening or a little bit after it's happening. But I think I personally might be able to get to a point where I can think of it just a little bit before it happens, and so in a way touching on premonitions. For it to really be a premonition, you have to know that it's going to happen before it happens. So that's kind of the idea. Of course, I have heard deja vu is just a stroke in the brain, so probably not good for me.
Oh yeah, I have deja vu on the regular. Probably say like once or twice a month.
Yeah, there was a time where I was getting it like a lot, and it's happening more and more. It makes me think I might have a brain tumor.
Oh, okay, so wait, what do you guys think about like geniuses that have had crazy genius ideas while dreaming? So like Google was dreamt up, Tesla had a bunch of cool...
The periodic table, the guy who created the modern one, he had that in a dream.
Right.
But also Twilight was a dream that the writer had.
Well, that's good to know.
It's like a nightmare.
Not always good.
When it comes to real life, it takes a dream, hard work, and money. But most of all, it takes a whole lot of luck. So, any Joe could have a dream about anything that's a million times better than Google, but it's not going to happen because they only have one of those 4 things. But back to what you were saying. I agree that it's possible. Has it happened for me? I mean, I kind of dreamed my election going differently, but other than that, it hasn't happened.
Well, it wasn't a premonition then.
No, it wasn't. Wait a minute.
Maybe it was like preparing you.
I might have dreamed losing, actually.
Oh. Well, then it was a premonition.
Okay, but anyways, back to that, what Griffin just said about the, needing to have talent and all that stuff, plus that. I think part of it is just if you're thinking about something all the time, like the guy trying to create the periodic table.
Yeah.
Like, he thought about that a ton before he had that dream.
Like, you have to be living that life to be able to, like, have that dream. And, like, it can't just, like, one day, like, pop into your head.
Yeah.
About something that you're, that could be years in advance. Like, you can't just do that unless you're constantly thinking about it.
You can't dream of, like, a car, like, 1,000 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I think at one point, dream boards were a thing, where like people would like have photos on their wall or photos in a scrapbook, and they would look at those to envision themselves as that.
Wasn't this like part of a podcast that we were listening to? And then at the end, the guy decided to jack off on the dream board to to make sure that it came true. It was like the hottest girls and everything, and the nice car that they wanted, and the house.
Wait,
yes.
So just to come true in the dreams?
I think,
it's a part of a sexual thing too. For some, I can't remember it.
Well, I think so Sarah is talking about Duncan Trussell podcast with Jesse Moynihan, and he and Jesse was like saying, because like he like really like wants a girlfriend or something.
Yeah,
so,
like he was really lonely.
Yeah,
his
so
life.
Yeah, he called it like sex magic, and he would ejaculate while thinking up his dream girl, and then it's supposed to happen, I guess.
Yeah, it's supposed to like help him.
Jizz. Okay.
Yeah, they have this whole like tangent about like having like a dream board, and then they were like, you have to jack off on the dream board in order for those things to come true.
Okay, I don't really personally believe that, but...
yeah, we'll link that in the description, so yeah, check that out.
Yeah.
I wonder how they had that idea.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So another cool fact, if you don't mind me interjecting real quick, you cannot read or tell time in dreams. So if you try to look at a book and read something,
Never seen words in my dream.
Ain't gonna be there.
Yeah, I honestly do not remember ever seeing something I could read in a dream.
Or tell time.
Yeah,
Like what time is it in your dream?
I've really tried though.
Like you can probably tell like with the sun.
Yeah,
oh, it's like 4 o'clock.
I've tried to force myself to write certain things, but I'll either get interrupted or just not be able to. But I have dreamed about beautiful women before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think all guys have at some point.
That's one thing is I don't think I've ever dreamt about. That was another gender difference. Is like men generally dream about women more.
Or women lie about it.
Where women dream about men and women equally.
Well.
Speaking of which, apparently men dream about more men in their dreams. Not sexually, just more guys in their dreams than women do. That just reminded me of that random fact.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, so it sounds like women, like what's going on in your dreams? It sounds like nothing's.
We usually dream about work.
Here's the difference between guys and gals. Get this. The top 3 things men think about. I can only remember 2 of them right now. But the first one, I'll start with number 2. Number 2 is usually sports. Number 3 is usually like work or something. Number 4 is like how they look. But that's an extension of the number 1 thing they think about, which is...
Penises.
Sex.
Which is an extension to...
The
Sex.
dick.
Which is because of...
Sex.
Vaginas.
Involves...
Just say
A
it.
man
Sex.
and a...
Woman or another man.
The number 1 thing
Yeah,
men think about. Women's minds. Top 3 things. The third is men. The second is... I don't remember what the second one is. But the first one is how they look. And that's not even an extension of men. That's just a totally separate thing. How they look. And I think that might be because the second thing they think about is women.
Wait, what was the first thing?
How they look.
Oh.
Are you concerned with how you look, Sarah?
No. I'm not.
That doesn't disprove my theory, you realize.
I don't know. Okay, maybe we should run a survey.
But it's because of that, a dream, wouldn't be surprised that a man's dream would have more girls in it naturally, because that's what he wants. That's the number 1 thing he wants.
Well, what you were talking about, Rama, about the penises, right? That reminds me of one of the worst dreams I ever had. Was this time where I had 2 penises?
Oh God!
Yeah, it was bad.
What did you do with them?
Like they were like fused, so I could. It wasn't 2 penises; they were like fused. So
Oh God!
So it was like a, I don't know, like
a Siamese cock.
Yeah, like a Siamese cock. I can't even say that with a straight face.
How is that worse than any of my dreams? What the fuck is wrong with you?
That is quite terrifying.
Yeah, I'd freak out.
Okay.
But that actually reminds me about body parts. Typically when I dream, I do not see my arms or my legs or any part of my body. It's just like me like moving around, but I don't see my
Just
body.
an ambient
head, yeah.
consciousness.
Yeah.
Ooh, have you ever had like a dream where you can like look down on yourself dreaming? What is that called?
No, I haven't.
Like an out of body experience?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've had that.
I don't know if I've had that or not. I feel like we can like make up our own dreams too. Like the imagination is so strong. Especially for like visual thinkers.
They might have a wild dream tonight because of all this.
Ooh.
Maybe we should try to link dreams and have an adventure.
Dreams.
There's totally like a really good anime about like this guy. I can't remember the name of it. Fuck. But there's like this guy who like when he falls asleep goes into like another dimension, but it's like a dimension of like dead people or like dead creatures, and like he can like see himself and everybody. Anyway, that was it. That was like the entire story right there.
So tonight at 4 a.m.
Let's meet.
Yeah, I'll see you guys there.
Yeah.
See you guys in my dreams. See you guys and lady in my dreams.
Okay, cool. So dreams. We all have dreams, and
MLK had a dream.
Yeah, a very special man had a very special dream that Sarah wants to talk about. So.
Yeah, so Martin Luther King Day is coming up on Monday, which will, of course, be in the past by the time everybody hears this. But MLK had a dream, and thankfully today, for the most part, it is fulfilled.
You hesitated there when you said for the most part.
Because I was thinking, I was putting a face on. Like a face of like solace.
You don't have to put a face on.
It's like the moment, you know, like a moment of silence for all those times that fucked up everything.
Well, here's something I would like to say in that vein. In terms of people like Martin Luther King, people like Gandhi, people like Lincoln to an extent. These are they're not goal people. This is not really related to dreams, but they're not goal oriented people. These are visionaries. These are people who and I guess a dream is a type of vision, but visionary sounds a whole lot cooler than dreamer. Mm-hmm. So I think that would coincide with the four things that I said. You have to the dream is would be an extension of your vision, and it takes a great deal of arrogance in a way for a man to have a vision, because like I was saying, when you start to let go of your inhibitions in a dream, you start to see that you have more control over your dream. You have, and in turn, more control over yourself and your thoughts, and then that translates to what you can do in real life, and then you start to realize your own limits, and the limits of what you can do in real life start to melt away as that happens. So, as a long sort of segue and summation of dreaming and a bit of inspiration, is not to think about goals or A, B, or C, but is to be a visionary, be someone who sees the world the way your dreams are. Like, you can control it, and you can make it the way that you think is best.
So be somebody that you would want to be around?
Yeah, I mean, make yourself a better person, essentially.
Okay.
I have something to add to just with Martin Luther King. This is more of just like a not so much related to actual dreams, but dreamers. It's a big topic lately with people who are getting deported.
Yeah.
And Martin Luther King would probably be really pissed off about that.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Why?
Are we going to get a history lesson here for a second?
A little bit.
Okay.
Here's the thing about King. This doesn't have to do with him necessarily, but a while back, while I was campaigning, a little bit after the time I filed my paperwork to get on the ballot, I was approached by one of the council members of the Kettering, Ohio City Council. She came out to me. Name's Amy Shrimp. She came up to me and said, "You should really go to this fair housing meeting. You know, you might learn something there about your landlord-tenant dispute. I think it could really help you." And she was the only person who helped me, so I was like, "All right, at least that's more than what Don Patterson, the mayor, said to me. So I'll go ahead and take a look at it." And while I was there, the first thing they showed us was this video that had to do with Martin Luther King and the reason why the Fair Housing Act is in the Constitution. And I'm hoping that's constitutionally accurate, what I just said, but it was a video about how that came to be and what King had to do with that. Really, all those laws, they got passed, obviously, post-mortem, after King died. But there was a really interesting discussion that happened. I don't remember where this was, but it was in the video. I don't remember if it was Lyndon Johnson who said this, or a senator or someone. I'm going to have to find out who said this, because I've said this too many times, and I said this to my opponent after she beat me in the city council race. And what he said was, and it sounds terrible to say this, but Martin Luther King's come and go. If we make a law, it's here forever, and no matter what, we have to enforce it. So, because now...
Well, that sounds like a politician.
Well, he's not wrong. It's a cruel thing to say, but he's not wrong. The law will be there until the death of the Union. And you may think it's a horrible thing to say, but now the thing is, fair housing is actually something that, the way I see it, is starting. It favors the it was put in place. I can't remember exactly how this happened, but it was put in place to favor either the landlord or the tenant against the. I think it was in place to favor the tenant, right? But now it's been twisted to where the tenant can. It's something the tenant can sort of hide behind to do nefarious things. I don't remember. It could have been the tenant or the landlord, but it doesn't matter. The point is, people can be counted on to stay the same, but visionaries come and go. So, if I were to say something like, something that sounds good today. Like I'll make sure that everyone is paid a good decent salary and has a chance to get a good job. I'll make sure everyone that the wealth is evenly distributed. Well, now suddenly I have created a system which in the future, which is obviously could become in the future a communist dystopia, and which I won't always be there to make sure is a moral and forward-thinking society. It's in the hands of other people who are not necessarily bound by my moral compass. I was saying if I had a moral, I think I have a moral compass.
If I had a moral compass.
Well, politician, let's not get carried. Remember, I'm a politician, so let's not get carried away. But you have to think about. I've been reading Howard Zinn's History of the People's History of the United States.
I've heard that's a really good book.
It is a really good read. I highly recommend it. But the point he drives home within the first 30 pages is before you can make a judgment on anything in history, you have to look at both sides. You can't look at just, Stalin was a bad guy because he killed 10 million or 11 million or 12 million people. But on the other hand, Stalin made the country a superpower. And because of that, they were able to win World War II and survive the Nazis. So, and to this day, there are a lot of people in Russia really respect and admire Stalin, believe it or not. Because there's always two ways of looking at something. Nothing's ever just, these
black
people are bad,
white.
or Trump is a bad guy because he said he didn't like Muslims, or because he said once that he would grab a girl by a pussy. That doesn't make him a bad. You have to look at these things, and it sounds funny. You have to look at these things dispassionately. You can't ever not be moral. And I think King was someone who was always would have been a moral and forthright person, because at that time it was quite obvious that black people were segregated against and discriminated against, or they were segregated and discriminated against, would be the proper way of saying that, I suppose. And so he was the right person to look at that issue and realize these people, we don't have to hurt anyone, but we have to make sure that we're heard and that this is fixed and that this doesn't happen again. He wasn't concerned about this whether or not this happens, whether or not it happened right now, whether or not blacks and whites could, shake hands across race lines just today. He wanted to make sure it wouldn't happen tomorrow or the next day or the next day. So what you're seeing now is that has been twisted to where, much in the same way the LGBT community is sort of, and a lot of like blacks and Muslims are sort of twisting that against white people now. They're using that as a justification to berate the other. The point was not for blacks to be equal or superior to whites. The point was cooperation and coexistence was what he was preaching. He was preaching peace and kindness. He wasn't preaching us versus them.
Right. Well, that's why it's important to celebrate.
Well, yes, it's a very lengthy, a very circuitous explanation of Martin Luther King there, I suppose.
Thank you.
You kind of started off that like as if you were going to say that that's like opposite to what I was saying, but it's really not. I mean, the Dreamers, they have a right to live in a good country, even if they're brown.
So I think you would be surprised with the way King looks at the issue. Is what I'm saying. He wouldn't immediately, just because he's black, be like, "Oh, I'm on their side now." He would probably look at it and go,
"No.
Wait a minute."
I don't think the reason he would say it is because he's black. I think it would be like, okay, no,
yeah,
this is immoral, unethical, unrealistic. Yeah.
And he was also, let's not forget, he was an impeccable organizer. He was a very good organizer and orator and public speaker. So he knew how to get a point across to where it would be I think where today it would be relevant for someone like that who knows how to get the point across. It's not someone who would just say we need to be angry and rabble around. Someone who would be collected and get a point across.
Well, there's a lot of problems going on in our country right now. And not in just our country, but in our world. So let's have good dreams.
Great.
You guys didn't see it, but I did the rock symbol with my fingers.
This is the rock symbol.
On!
That's double horns.
This is the rock symbol. And this is the other rock symbol.
Can you smell what the rock is cooking?
No.
Wait, what?
If you smell what the rock is cooking.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight. So listen to our next podcast. It's going to be the theory of the brain.
Jabroni beaten, pie eaten, trail blazing, la 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 la.
Okay, I think that's enough. This was good podcast.